What's up, everybody? Today, I wanted to do something a little bit different. I am here today to talk about life philosophy and maybe a few other things. My basic life philosophy. I've always thought about this in a very logical way, just trying to understand what makes sense. I grew up Christian conservative. For the most part, I didn't like the pastors. Not that I didn't like them personally, just that I didn't feel like they were being honest. I don't want to get sidetracked by that. My point in bringing this up is I just want to know the truth. And so I've explored so many different things. Not like I've been on some perfectly committed journey or anything like that. I've played my fair share of video games. I've done my fair share of things that I regret. But I do feel like I've reached a logical conclusion that makes sense to me. And I don't know that I would have ever arrived at this if I didn't go through the life journey that I went through. And so the basic logical conclusion is I think it only makes sense to be a good person, even from a selfish perspective. If you want to have the best life that you can have, if you want to have the most fulfilled life that you can have, if you want to have the happiest life that you can have, if you want to have the life that feels the best, feels good the most, then I think the only way to do that is you have to be committed to being a good person. I don't think that means that life is easy. I think that is correct. A lot of people get so caught up in what it feels like on a visceral level to be alive. And it's really hard to conceptualize anything before or after life because life is all you know. When you fall and scrape your knee, it hurts, You can break a bone and you can die. You can experience loss and tragedy and all this kind of stuff. And then you can experience comfort and pleasure and these kinds of things. And so it's so easy to get so connected to those things, these life experiences, these things that have a direct feeling to you, that connect so intimately to you. I don't think that that's ultimately the right way to conceptualize life. I think you have to look beyond it. I think ultimately, people can get really caught up in the idea that they need to get more money. If you get more money, life is going to be easier. You're not going to have as much stress. And I think that's true, but it's true in a simple-minded way. At its most basic level, life is not external. Life is internal. Your life, your experience is what happens inside of you. And that's why some of the greatest people that we've ever heard of, it's a common story amongst those people that even if they're in jail, no matter what anybody else does to them, they always have autonomy and nobody can ever change their heart. Only person that can do that is themselves. And so they're always free no matter what situation they're in. No matter what anybody else does to you, does not matter what they do to your body, your heart, your spirit, your mind cannot be controlled by anybody other than yourself. And so I think that life is an internal journey. And why it's really important to understand that is that knowing that is the building block or the most important piece to knowing that your life experience, the quality of your life, has everything to do with your choices and nothing to do with the results. You cannot control the results. There's too many other factors. Over 7 billion people in the world, and you being one, we don't even understand everything in this world. We probably don't even know what percentage we know. Does that make any sense? It can seem like people know a lot. We've got the internet, we've got airplanes, we've got all this great technology that is way beyond any other species that we see in Earth, and it can make us feel like we're so powerful and great. Since we don't know everything, we don't know how many stars there are, how many potential planets there are, how big the universe is. We don't even know what percentage of knowledge we have. So we might have 0.02% of knowledge. Since life is an internal experience, you need to give yourself the best internal experience. And so here's what happens. Whatever you want to say your concept of God would be, God exists in all of us. I think of God as basically the spirit of love. The force of love, the force of the creative force, the creationary force, whatever forces, inspirations, motivations. It's very hard to put words to these kinds of things. Words are. It's like moving targets. The creationary force, the spirit of love, that is God. The spirit of destruction, that's evil or that's Satan. This is a way you can conceptualize it. If you choose to do things that are wrong, you might be able to trick everyone else in the world. You can never actually trick yourself. As much as you might want to make excuses for what you do, excuses for yourself, as much as you want to help yourself to believe things that make you feel better about it so you can get more comfort or more money or whatever it is, you cannot deceive yourself. That is going to define how you see yourself. That is, and if you think of life as an internal experience, if your internal state is you don't really have respect for yourself, you don't think of yourself as courageous, you don't think of yourself as brave, you don't think of yourself as kind, you think of yourself as selfish. And this is a very negative internal state, and that's the state that you exist with. And so when you choose to do bad things, big or small, when you choose to do things that are more destructive in nature, you are in almost a literal sense banishing yourself to hell in this life. As long as you are here experiencing that, you have created your own internal home. It's something you really need to think about. It's very easy to get distracted by the temporary things that you like. And so if you steal a bunch of money, you may then have all this power, where you can give this money to get things. And you can feel like you're getting everything you want. You can buy great dinners. You can get a nice car. You can buy a nice house, or you can get all this stuff. But while you got those things, the entire time that you were getting those things, you got them while understanding that you're not a good person. And so it's not a pleasant way to experience those things. You're not happy. You're not. It's euphoric in the sense of getting these experiences. There's pleasure involved, but pleasure by itself is not good. When you do things that are good and you choose to be brave, you choose to be kind, you choose to be committed, you choose to be giving, you choose to be patient. This does not mean that bad things aren't going to happen to you. I think that that's one of the biggest issues of the Christian religion, is growing up as a Christian, being taught that Jesus, who was apparently the best person that ever lived, the most righteous, the most ethical person that ever lived, he was also God. And then what he got in exchange for that, what everyone claims is the worst form of torture that you can give to somebody, that he was brutally tortured and killed. It doesn't give you a lot of hope or motivation to want to be good. It's like, you should be good because you should be good. But by the way, the person that was really good, everyone hated him and killed him and murdered him. A whole bunch of people hated him and killed him and murdered him. It's not exactly, when you tell a kid this, you got to give more context, you guys. Like, what? You got to give more context and more basis for even why you should do this. It's in my opinion, it goes beyond that. It's right. It's even right just for yourself. If you are not a good person, you give yourself a horrible existence, and there's no way around it. Your selfish existence, while maybe rich, while maybe pleasurable, is lonely. It's tragic. It's heartless. In a much deeper way, on a surface level, you get all these great things. And in the deeper way, you are in hell. I really suggest that you think about what I'm saying, and you really think about it. Yeah, you don't get to do the life over again, and you have to live with whatever choices you make. So yeah, I really think it's important to think about it this way. Another logical way to think about why it makes no sense to go after all these worldly pleasures. I'll add something to this that can help you put this in perspective. Let's focus on riches, like getting a nice house, getting a nice car, being able to take amazing vacations. Why these things don't really matter, just put them in a historical context. So it can be really easy to get caught up in the times and think you need this, you need great internet, you need to know all the cool stuff, or whatever it is. When you put everything in historical context, you realize that everything is relative. Even if you're living in the United States and you're in the bottom bracket of wealth in the United States, relative to everyone else in human history, you are at the apex. You probably have a shower, public transportation. You have access to a grocery store where you can just walk and get foods ready to eat. All these things that people throughout history never had, and make your life a million times easier. And you could argue on a physical level, it makes your life so much better. There's no reason. It just doesn't make any logical sense when you think about that you could move the needle I mean, at what point does it stop? At what point do we say physically the human race has it good enough? Like, we've got showers, we've got good enough medicine, we've got good enough whatever it is, that life is comfortable enough, it's easy enough, it doesn't need to get easier or better. That, when you can understand that life at its core is not the physical, then you realize that all this peripheral stuff it isn't actually that important. The thing that is important is, what are the challenges in your life? And how are you taking them on? Who are you being in the world? What are you helping to put into the world? And that's really all that matters. No matter what happens, there's always going to be suffering. There's going to be both. There's yin and yang. And so it doesn't matter how far you push it in this direction, you're still going to experience tragedy. Really, the most important thing, just trying to be a force of love, trying to let the spirit of love be you. That's really it. You're here for a limited amount of time. That's really the only thing that matters.